it's very odd. I never thought I'd be one of those people on the other side of it, looking at, but it's great. And so many did it for me, yourself included, that it's good to just be able to help out and hopefully be pushing someone else over the finish line.
This show is dedicated to helping you strengthen your family tree and live financially free. Welcome to the Marriage, Kids, and Money podcast, everybody. This is Andy Hill, and today we're going to do things a little different. Yeah. First, I'm going to fly solo and talk to you about 7 dreams that can become a reality when you're debt-free. And then after my solo flight, we're going to highlight another Money Master of the Week. And then last but not least, we're bringing you a new series called Mortgage Freedom. This segment will feature everyday individuals like you and I who have paid off their mortgage completely. It's gone, baby. That way, you can get inspired to do the same thing. This week, we have Colin from Chicago, and you are going to love his story. All right, let's jump into today's show. Now, there are a lot of young couples and parents that listen to this show, and I think it's safe to say that a whole bunch of you are looking for a little more freedom and fun in your lives. Am I right? Do you think? What do you think? I think you're right. I think I'm right. And I truly, truly believe that when you become debt-free, my friends, you will experience that freedom. And you'll experience that reduction of stress like you never have before. Now, I know that me just spouting off words and phrases like debt freedom and stress reduction may not motivate you to jump out of your seat and start crushing debt. But perhaps if we get a little bit more specific together, it may just do the trick. So what I'd like to do today on today's episode is go over 7 dreams that can come true when you're debt-free. So let's jump right into it, everybody. Number 1, raise your children at home. As a young parent, you may be working at a job and sending your kids to daycare during the day. And a lot of people do this, and there's nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong with daycare. But perhaps you have a feeling, you have a calling, you have a desire to raise your kids at home the way you want to. Debt freedom can make this desire become a reality. When you're not putting a bulk of your income toward paying your student loans or your car debt or your credit card debt, your budget will have a lot more room in it. More room to make decisions that work for you and your future. This dream resonated a lot with my wife, Nicole, after we learned that we were going to be parents for the first time. She wasn't so much inspired by becoming debt-free or living on a budget, quote unquote. She was more inspired by the byproduct of our debt freedom. She'd be able to go to part-time and then eventually become a full-time stay-at-home mom during our kids' younger years. And that's what we did. We became debt-free, and we could magically afford for her to go down to part-time, and then a couple of years later, full-time, which was great. I share that dream of raising your children at home first out of our 7 dreams here, because that was our driving force in our relationship, and it helped us clean up our debt. It definitely inspired us to make some moves, so that's why I wanted to share it first. Number 2, start your own business. Let's say you absolutely love photography. You shoot weddings, you shoot family photos, headshots for events on the weekends, and you do this as a side gig to make some extra money. But mostly, it's not just for the money. Mostly you do it because you're passionate about photography. You love it so much that you're ready to make this your real life full-time business and not just a side thing anymore. When you're debt-free, dreams like this can become a reality. In session number 66, I interviewed Vincent Puglisi, who shared a very similar story to this. He and his wife eliminated $140,000 of debt and he was able to become a self-employed freelance photographer. And he took his passion for photography and his passion for living that free life, crushed all that debt, and now that's what he's doing. He is a freelance photographer, and now he's inspiring other people by writing about his story. So it can happen, my friends. That's number 2. Number 3, travel guilt-free. Okay, so picture this. It's the dead of winter, and you're really in need of a warm getaway vacation. You find some beautiful resort in Mexico for you and your spouse to relax and recharge. And if you buy the trip in the next 48 hours, you'll get 25% off, taking the total to only $5,000. Whew. So without thinking if you actually have the money, you just decide to throw it on the credit card, right? Live, what's it called? YOLO. You only live once, right? So then the date of the trip arrives, you travel to sunny Mexico, you relax by the pool, you laugh and you party with your spouse, you're having a great time. But in the back of your brain, you've got this nagging feeling that won't go away. And the thought is, how long is it going to take me to pay this vacation off? You try to ignore it. You throw back some margaritas and you read a good book on the beach, but that pending high interest credit card debt still pulls at you. Wouldn't it be nice to just really enjoy that vacation without that sense of guilt? That sense of, oh man, I'm going to be paying on this vacation for a while. I better enjoy it now because I'm going to be paying on it for the next year or more. Debt freedom, budgeting, and saving your money will give you that ability to travel guilt-free. When you're debt-free, you want to stay that way, right? That's when you incorporate awesome life hacks like a sinking fund. This tactic of the sinking fund has you split the cost of these high-priced items or experiences like a vacation into 12-month increments. That way you're factoring in the cost of this awesome experience to Mexico every year. Guilt-free relaxation every year. Now that sounds awesome. Number 4, leave a toxic job for a better one. Your boss treats you poorly, you're not inspired by your daily work, and there is no room for growth. It is time to leave your job and find a better one. The better one might pay less money, but it'll give you a better life. Isn't that what it's all about, right? Well, it's a lot harder to do the right thing, the thing you're supposed to do, right? When you have loads of debt to deal with. It is so much harder to jump or be entrepreneurial or, be adventurous in taking a different role with something that might inspire you when you've got loads of student loans that are holding you down. Let your toxic job be your motivator to eliminate your debt as fast as possible. And at the same time, keep a lookout for other jobs in your industry that pay well and maybe treat you better. They're out there. Got to keep looking. One incredible plus, though, that comes from your debt-free journey is confidence. You will become more confident in yourself, your abilities, and just overall doing what's best for you. Because self-care rocks, man. And that starts with the work we choose to do every day. Number 5, have a fully funded emergency fund. Wouldn't it be incredible to never experience money emergencies again? With a fully funded emergency fund, your emergencies won't feel like emergencies anymore. The roof is leaking. Oh, no. No worries. We got the money. We got this covered. I'm having transmission problems again. Oh no. There's money set aside for that. This one's a personal one here. Zoe just threw a glass and cracked our bathroom sink. And my wife's response, we've got an emergency fund for that, Andy. It's nice. When you're debt-free, you can now focus on building up your savings to a point where you eliminate your future worries. This can be 3 months of expenses, 6 months, or even 12 months. I know people who absolutely love having a year's worth of savings. It makes them feel like they're all protected by a warm blanket, like all the time. And then I know others who prefer to have it at 3 months. We currently have ours at 3 months, but I like the idea of 6 months. So we're building that up right now. And we're planning on getting there in the next maybe like 12 to 24 months. It's going to take us a while to build it up. But you know what? Peace of mind is what comes from this dream goal. It's one of my favorites. Number 6, help your kids graduate student debt free. The student debt problem in our country is truly disheartening. $1.5 trillion in student debt and growing rapidly. That is of the time of this recording, right? 2019, $1.5 trillion. Social Security checks are being garnished because people in their 60s and 70s are still paying their student debt. And the bad news keeps coming too. Evidently, there are plans swirling in our government right now to eliminate assistance programs like student loan forgiveness. With our debt freedom, we can focus on investing for our kids' future so they don't have to worry about any of this mess. Invest in a 529 early in their lives and take advantage of compound interest. The earlier we start, the better off our accounts will be. Invest early and create an automatic recurring investment. It's a lot easier to do this when you're debt-free, and your kids will thank you. Number 7, give back in your community. I truly believe that when we give our time, our money, and attention to charities and causes we're passionate about, we get so much in return. With our extra money after being debt-free, consider donating a portion of it to organizations that move you. I'm inspired by charities that help kids have a better shot at life, like organizations like Together We Rise. We recently had them on the show to talk about their organization, how they're helping kids in the foster care system. And it's great. It's inspiring. I know that I've been blessed and privileged in my upbringing, so I want to give back so others can have some of the opportunities that I've had. And that starts with kids for me. If the idea of giving away your money spooks you a little bit, consider increasing your giving by a percentage at a time. And that's what we've done in our family recently. So in 2017, we gave just 1% of our income. And last year, we upped that to 3%. And this year, we're shooting for 5%. So this is an area that we're working on. And I'm excited to go on this journey with you guys. Maybe one day we'll become a 10% giver like my friend Allison Cade from session 114. That's marriagekidsandmoney.com/session 114 if you guys want to check that out. What's impressive to me about Allison and the other 10% givers out there is that they're going to teach their children the same sense of selflessness and kindness. And that attitude of taking care of your neighbor will continue to grow. And that's the kind of country and community that I'm really inspired to be a part of. Okay, so we hit on 7 dreams that can come true when you're debt-free. And here they are again. Number 1, raise your children at home. Number 2, start your own business. Number 3, travel guilt-free. Number 4, leave a toxic job for a better one. Number 5, have a fully funded emergency fund. Number 6, help your kids graduate student debt-free. And then number 7, give back in your community. I hope just one of these dreams gets you excited about becoming debt-free. And that's really all it takes. A dream, a goal, a vision. The numbers alone aren't going to get you all geeked. The destination will. But be sure to enjoy the journey, because the debt-free journey can be a lot of fun too. If you're looking for some inspiration on how to crush that debt fast, check out my slew of articles and podcasts focus on this very subject at marriagekidsandmoney.com/crush debt. Yeah, that URL is pretty BA for sure. That's marriagekidsandmoney.com/crushdebt. And who knows, one of those inspiring stories may just get you kickstarted on your journey to debt freedom. We'll be back to the show after a word from our sponsors. Are you self-employed and need vision coverage? Or maybe you just transitioned from a full-time gig to part-time work and you lost your vision insurance? You need to check out VSP Vision Care so you're taking care of your eyes and your families too. VSP Vision Care is the largest vision insurance company in the United States. With that status, they give you access to care from great eye doctors, quality eyewear, and the affordable care you deserve. VSP individual plans start as low as $13 per month, and they can cover important things like eye exams, glasses, and contacts. If you want to get an estimate of how much you'd save by partnering with VSP, they have a great calculator right on their website. Go to marriagekidsandmoney.com/VSP to check it out. That's marriagekidsandmoney.com/VSP. VSP Vision Care gives you excellent vision coverage for the lowest out-of-pocket costs. A recent study came out showing that more than 40% of Americans do not have life insurance. The same study showed that 84% of Americans think they should have it. So why is there such a big gap between those two numbers? Some say it boils down to cost and convenience. Life insurance policies are too expensive and they're too difficult to attain. Well, Bestow is focused on changing just that. Bestow is on a mission to make term life insurance simpler and more human. They use data to remove the doctor visits and paperwork involved with the traditional life insurance process. That's right, no doctors and no needles. And you can apply from anywhere in just minutes. Unlike some of their competitors, you will get an approval response right away. My friends, you can check this off your to-do list. You know it's been on there for a while. Get your free and convenient life insurance quote by visiting marriagekidsandmoney.com/bestow. That's marriagekidsandmoney.com/bestow. BESTOW. With Bestow, you can have peace of mind in just minutes. Thanks for considering our sponsors, everyone. Let's jump back into the show. Now it's time to announce the Money Master of the Week. Josh from Florida called in with a huge money win. Take it away, Josh.
Hey, Andy. This is Josh Overmeyer down in Florida, and I blog at joshovermeyer.com. I want to share a recent financial win with your listeners. I get paid bi-weekly, so usually 2 months a year I get a third paycheck, and this month is one of those months. Combined with money from my tax refund that just posted last week, I decided to fully fund my IRA for 2019 in one fell swoop. I transferred all $6,000 to the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. My next big financial goal is to pay off my mortgage by the end of 2025. Next month marks 13 years here, and I want to have it paid off before I hit 20 years in my house.
Talk about discipline. You get an infusion of cash, and you have a decision to make on what to do with it. Josh looked toward the future and invested in it. If you want to get inspired by Josh and his financial journey, please check him out at joshovermeyer.com. That's joshovermeyer.com. Josh, thank you so much for sharing your smart money move with us, and congratulations for being our Money Master of the Week. Do you have a recent financial victory that you want to share on the show? Send me an email at andy@marriagekidsandmoney.com or leave me a voicemail like Josh did at marriagekidsandmoney.com/voicemail. I would love to hear from you.
How would you like to own your home outright? What would it feel like to never make a mortgage payment ever again? On our Mortgage Freedom series today, we're going to interview someone who eliminated their mortgage in less than 5 years. Colin Murphy is our guest today. Colin is a father, a husband, and a Chicago native. He's going to let us peek inside and see how he made this monumental feat happen. Welcome to the show, Colin.
Thanks, Andy. Happy to be here. Your show's been a great source of motivation for my wife and I, so just happy to be a part of it.
Oh, thanks so much, Colin. I really appreciate that. So when did you decide that you wanted to pay off your mortgage?
Well, probably the day we signed the mortgage paperwork. It was, we were the standard move from one house to a little bit bigger one. And, it was that looking at those numbers on the paper and actually saying 30 years. And what's life going to be like in 30 years, right? So essentially, shortly after that ink dried, we were convinced that this was going to become a goal of ours.
Yeah, and you said we. So how did your wife feel about that too?
Well, she was kind of deferring to me a lot on the financial stuff, right? Strengths and weaknesses of each couple. But, we were only married a short time, a couple of years when we bought the house that we're in now, that we eventually paid off. So while we were both in, working together towards our financial goals, we didn't really have the express talks at that point of what exactly we wanted to do with our money. We were both working. We weren't having checks bounced or anything like that. So we just kind of figured life was on autopilot and that was okay. So it really wasn't after we were in the house realizing the gravity of what we had done when we really started having these talks about paying it off.
That's cool. So did you guys have any initial debt before you started this mortgage pay down process?
A little bit. As I mentioned, we were in a small townhouse before, and my wife had a little bit of student loan debt, about $15,000, not outrageous. And then we both had cars, not fancy cars, but cars that required monthly checks. And but we were fortunate that we didn't have credit card debt. We didn't have any sort of medical debt or anything. So we didn't have a lot of the big interest pitfalls, but we still had those nagging bills every month that were kind of hurting our checking.
So what did you guys do to partner together to get rid of those student loans and some of those other things you're working on?
Sure. So like you and like so many others out there, I kind of stumbled into all this through Dave Ramsey. It was literally YouTube videos. It was being bored in the middle of the night. I workout hours and finding these people that were screaming and celebrating and all this stuff. And it took me a little bit to come around. I mean, I got to be honest, it seemed a little bit odd at first. But again, I go back to we were both working, and when you don't have creditors knocking at the door or something, you just kind of figure everything's okay, even though you don't really have a purpose. So we started talking when we were in our old house about, hey, let's get the cars paid off, let's get the student loans paid out. And honestly, Andy, I thought about this when we were talking beforehand. Is we didn't really have our why, our reason why. It was just we knew we wanted to be out of debt, and we just kind of figured, being the video watcher on YouTube, that all these people are screaming, and there's thousands of people doing this. There's got to be some sort of freedom that I'm missing. So I'd like to say some story about we had some, heroic moment where we stood together arm in arm and fought through, but it really didn't happen that way for us. So
you saw a group of weirdos doing some weird stuff and you're like, I want in.
And look, I'm good with weird, I'm good with that. It was, because you saw people from all different parts of the country and walks of life and different jobs. And it seemed like a very all-inclusive process, right?
It's a movement, man. It's exciting. It's a fun group to be a part of, and you are more than a part of it now. So let's talk about this mortgage. So when did you start paying it down? Talk to us about the details a little bit.
Sure. So we bought the house right at the beginning of 2016. And we were fortunate. I had always been and I say my wife too, but we didn't really, we got married in 2014. So prior to that, we were just our independent financial people. But after that, we combined everything right away, and we were always risk adverse. We had high cash balances, which I know isn't ideal when we talk about the actual dollars and cents, but it was a sense of comfort for us. So we bought this house that we're in now, beginning of 2016. We had 20% down because we had saved so much cash and had it aside. So right from the start, we had that mortgage balance, and we basically made it a goal right then to start paying it off more than our monthly minimums.
And you said it was a 30-year, is that right?
It was a 30-year fixed, and this will really make I've kind of become a little bit of a financial numbers weirdo as you get into this movement. It's kind of inevitable. It was at 4% and it was fixed. And believe it or not, we actually refinanced to about 3.5% later that summer. So I know that makes some people cringe, thinking, "What are you doing, paying all this money at 4 and then 3.5%?" But as we'll get into it goes a lot beyond just the numbers.
Absolutely. So what was the original principle?
So the principal on the loan was $208,000.
208. That's kind of right where we were too. We had 195 when we started, so we were right in
Yeah.
the same ballpark. So
Yep.
So talk to us about how you pay your mortgage off in under 5 years. How did you do that? What strategies did you guys use? Obviously, you started with $208,000 principal. You got a low interest rate, which is a great way to start. But then from there, how did you guys partner together to pay this thing off so fast?
Sure. So when we moved into that house, we were pregnant with our first child. So moving was already stressful enough, right? And then in the midst of it, you're preparing that summer for your first child. So we were both working at the time, and we knew, or we thought, as much as new parents think they know going into it, right? Is, hey, we're going to have some expenses coming up. Anything we can control over the next 6 months, let's do it. So every dime we had at that point that was above and beyond our monthly bills went to that mortgage principal. We thought it wasn't going to be as quick as it did, but it really compounds and it becomes a monthly goal where we were real good at tracking our finances. We did, and we still do have a budget every month. So we knew we had, that zero sum budgeting where we knew where every dollar was going, and every dollar above our minimums was going to that mortgage every month. So it became kind of a goal where, we'd have our meetings at the beginning of the month saying, hey, this is what our month looks like. And we'd kind of get excited at that extra line item of extra mortgage principal of how big can we get that number this month? So it's contagious. It becomes kind of addictive in a way,
So were there any things that you guys did? Obviously, you got to increase your income or decrease your expenses, right, to do something crazy like this. Was there anything on both sides of those coins where you guys figured out how to make more money or spend less money? How did that all go?
Yeah, there was a lot. Overtime kind of became my side hustle or my second job because it's you start factoring in what you're making per hour, and it just it's there if you're willing to work odd hours or whatever the case may be. So that became my second job. I started teaching part-time too at a local college, just some entry-level, 100, 200 level courses. It was mostly online, so it helped a lot too with flexibility, especially when our first child came along. So I have to give credit to my wife here too, because we kind of talk about odd side hustles. She got real big into some of these Facebook garage sales groups and moms groups where you're finding, I mean, you know as well as anyone, the outrageous prices of some of these children's toys or supplies or diapers or all that stuff. And she still to this day is just the most prominent I know, and she knows exactly what she should pay per item, and it's phenomenal. And while that's not an income producing thing, it kind of is in the sense that when you're going to spend that money anyways. So she saved us thousands and thousands of dollars a year, I'm convinced, from the minute our first child was born.
Wow. So your wife is currently not working, but what you're saying is she's on Facebook, she's hustling, she's making sure you guys save a lot of money. Is that right?
Yeah, she's working, as you know. She's working, but yeah, she is not in the traditional sense, but yeah, she's I would tell you every week she's, whether it's getting items we need or finding items that she's kind of learned being a stay-at-home mom now to fix or repair and flip. She is doing that all day, every day. So incredible. She's bringing in money.
Yeah, absolutely. So before you guys started down this process when you were married, was your wife working full-time at any point?
She was. So she was working full time when we were prior. Obviously, I was being married, and then she was working full time until our daughter, who's our oldest, was almost 2.
Okay.
And it became just she worked in emergency medicine, so we were both on odd schedules.
Yeah.
And it became just so chaotic when it came to childcare, and because we were both in 24/7 jobs. It's one thing to try to get childcare from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but when you're looking for childcare, Sunday night at midnight or Christmas morning or whatever the case may be, it just became a point where we just said, what do you do? I mean, even if you have the money, trying to find the availability is just not. And the other part of that too is that she liked her job, but she didn't love her job. Sure. And it was tough for her going back. And we both made the decision that for our family, for stress and everything like that, her ultimately staying home was going to be what we did.
I mean, we talked about it very briefly, but you saying I took on extra hours, I worked the evening shifts. You worked incredibly hard to pay this thing off. I mean, were there times as a young father where you're putting in this extra effort where you're like, man, I don't know if I could do this?
There was. It was tough because, you want to balance these financial goals you have with your family that you know are the best move in the long run with not missing out on those early moments of your child's life either, or your young, relatively young marriage. So it meant the partnership. I was very fortunate. I'm still very fortunate every day to have the wife I do, but to be able to work as a team and say, hey, this is temporary. We have some goals that we know in the long term will help our family. Sometimes the benefits of doing this with young kids as opposed to older kids is, while they're demanding in terms of their day to day, you don't have those after school activities, whether it's sports or music or whatever that you really want to be there or frankly, that they're going to remember you being at. So the benefit with our daughter, now she's not even 3 yet, is to be able to say, hey, this is the early part of life, but when we get this all done, now when we come to those memorable stages in fatherhood or parenthood, I can be there now because I don't have to work those hours anymore.
That's incredible, Colin. So you've got a lot more, I guess, freedom with your cash right now. So let's talk about that. So how did you guys celebrate the day that it happened? Did you guys do anything fun? Did you have any moment where you're like, hey, this is a great thing in our life and we're celebrating? What happened that day?
We went into the bank and we set up we ended up paying kind of a windfall payment at the end. As I mentioned, we'd always been, cash had been kind of just peace of mind for us. And we finally made the plunge at, hey, we have the money now to do this if we want to do it. So we went into the bank, we set up the wire transfer, and the banker kind of looked at us and she said, you want to do what? And we, we said, well, we're here to, we got to wire this to pay off our house. And she kind of looked at us, like we had 3 heads, and so we did, do the picture outside the bank and all that stuff. But it was funny because it was a weekday and I was off, and we said, we should celebrate. But you form these habits and part of this debt payoff stuff that you're not spending crazy amounts of money. So we actually went home and we had a home cooked meal. We watched Netflix. I think we turned on Paw Patrol or something for our child. And because we can't go back to that, let's go out to the lavish dinner stuff because we had gotten rid of that as part of our thing. So we kind of chuckled that night, laying down on the couch saying, this is typical, right? This big celebration of this huge amount of thing, and we're back to just what we do.
You've changed your life, and the things that maybe, I don't know, the things that bring you joy or excitement are different now. You got a 3-year-old and Paw Patrol on the couch after a long day at work sounds pretty celebratory to me. I don't know, man. After a long day of work, I do not need some fancy night on the town anymore as a young father. I mean, that's where it's at for me too. So I hear you. So
yeah, absolutely.
Talk about how the availability of this extra cash has changed your financial situation at all. What are you guys doing differently? What are your plans for the future? Tell me how it looks.
Sure. So obviously in this journey, it changed a little bit now that my wife is staying at home. So, we did go down to one income. So the cash flow wasn't quite as high as it was as we were paying off the mortgage. But because paying off the debt, not only do you have that extra money, but as I mentioned, you make these changes along the way, right? Whether it's getting rid of the car payments or, not spending $1,000 a month on groceries. So we've definitely upped up my retirement. I'm participating in a 457. So which is, your 401k for your public employees, essentially. So we've ramped that up. We've both set up Roth IRAs and we're helping put away money for 529, for college savings. We also, a couple months ago, found out that we have 2 more babies on the way this summer.
Wow.
Rather than just the one. So, thank you. So, that's obviously that initial daunting thought of, oh my gosh, we're going from a family of 3 to 5 is exciting. But I will tell you, my wife and I have said countless times, we've kind of just looked at each other and, we still have that Wells Fargo note on our desk. And we've just said, boy, we're just so fortunate to not have the financial stress, because little did we know what life would give us, and to not have to worry about, oh my gosh, what are we going to do for baby diapers or formula or childcare or whatever, is worth any amount of money in the world,
So the peace of mind is your best investment right now, and it's making you feel good.
It's big time,
man. Cool. All right. Well, there's a young parent listening right now that's saying, wow, I want that. I want that peace of mind. I want that freedom to feel really good if I suddenly realize we got twins coming on the way. What advice would you give them to get started in paying off their mortgage?
So obviously you have to be in lockstep with your significant other. That goes without saying, but it's true. I mean, when we were house hunting, we didn't think at the time my wife would ever be a stay-at-home mom. You have to prepare for all these options, not just your knowns, right? Of you might have illness or you might have childcare needs, but your unknowns. Our daughter was a year before my wife said, "Hey, I really want to stay home," and that wasn't going to be in the budget otherwise, So you have to prepare for the unknowns, I know it's cliche, but my gosh, you have to budget. Trying to go through this and say we want to pay extra on our mortgage when you have no idea what extra means every month is huge. So I would say, especially too, for people that are working in non-traditional employment where overtime is an option, and I don't know what my paycheck's going to be every week because I don't know how much I'm going to work. You set that budget based on your lowest, right? What it's going to be. And then when you have these windfalls of overtime or availability or something, you just have a pile of cash to move in rather than building your budget based around, I'll probably get some overtime or I'll probably get some side income. And then when you don't, now you're in trouble because you've budgeted for money you don't have. So plan for the unknown, base that budget on your lowest number, and you better make sure you got a good partner along the way, because that makes it a lot easier.
Oh, Colin, this is great. I hear the excitement in your voice, and what I want to thank you for today is giving back to this community that's given you so much. You're now inspiring others by sharing this message, and other people are going to do this crazy weirdo thing that you've done, and they can blame you along the way. So
yeah, I hope so. That's exactly it. Like I said, it started from YouTube videos, and then it went into podcasts like yours, and you start trying to find people of like mind because it's motivating.
Absolutely.
And it's very odd. I never thought I'd be one of those people on the other side of it, looking at. But it's great, and so many did it for me, yourself included, that it's good to just be able to help out and hopefully be pushing someone else over the finish line.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on this awesome family victory, Colin. I know people can find you in the Thriving Families Facebook community if they want to chat with you and learn more. And, Colin, thank you so much for inspiring us today, and thanks again for sharing this awesome story.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andy.
This flow today. It was a little different, but you know what? Different is good. It was refreshing. We reviewed 7 dreams that can be accomplished when you're debt-free. Josh inspired us to use our tax returns wisely. And Colin got us all geeked about life without a mortgage. Definitely a solid dose of financial inspiration to kick off your week. Before we go for the day, I'd like to ask you to do any one of these 3 things to support this show. Number 1, click the like button on my Facebook page at Andy Hill MKM. I am doing fun Facebook Lives, posting new articles, and sharing, wacky things my kids are doing as well. Again, that's facebook.com/Andy Hill MKM. And the second thing, number 2, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player so we're hanging out every week. And then number 3, share this episode with a friend who wants to become debt-free and enjoy more freedom in their lives. You can find this show and all the links and resources mentioned at marriagekidsandmoney.com/session 126. That's session 126. And if you're new to the show, I'd highly recommend checking out session 116, the 10 steps to young family wealth and happiness. You can find that at marriagekidsandmoney.com/session 116. It is a great place to start. In the spirit of growth and inspiration, I'm going to end the show with a quote today from Confucius. Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. This is your time to pursue your dreams, my friends. Carpe diem.